Hi guys, back with another video for you today, and this is my European haul video. We've got fragrances that I purchased from France and then of course some from Italy. You know, it's not as big as I normally do because, as I mentioned in a video yesterday, I bought 10 bottles of Dior Homme Parfum, and so that took up a lot of space in my suitcases, but I did end up picking up some stuff, and I'm going to let you know all about them coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Yes, today we're talking about which fragrances I bought in France and Italy when I was there for a month. This is my haul video, and again, as I said, I did buy 10 bottles of Dior Homme Parfum. If you missed my video yesterday, I'm giving away one of the bottles to a subscriber of this channel from the entire world. This is a worldwide giveaway. And then the rest of the 10 bottles I am raffling off to folks that want to buy them at $200 and you know, with the shipping fee and everything. So if you are interested in participating in the giveaway, go there and do that. If you don't want to participate in the giveaway and just participate in the raffle to be selected to end up buying a bottle of Dior Homme Parfum, again, go there and then follow those rules. So and because of the fact that I bought 10 bottles of Dior Homme Parfum, it was taking up a lot of space, and these are pretty heavy bottles, so it's pretty thick glass and everything, so this is a very heavy collection of fragrances. But let me talk to you about what else I purchased. Alright, so basically what I'm going to do is jump around to different fragrances, and these next two fragrances are ones that I'm really excited about. It's from the house of Brunello Cucinelli. These are their first two fragrances ever, I believe. So they have a Perfume and a Poeme. They're basically just called Brunello Cucinelli, and I smelled them in the store at the main flagship store, I believe in Milan, and then I ended up buying them because they had just put them out. And any of you fans of this house, I know they don't make fragrances until now, but they make some really classy clothes, which I don't really wear myself, but I kind of like their style and everything. So here we have, let's see if I can see it. I might have to put my glasses on. We've got, so we've got the FEMME here. Let's go ahead and show you the bottle. And you know, I like the look of the bottles, but the only thing I didn't like about these fragrances were the fact that they were a little pricey. These were 180 euros each. They're just brand spanking new fragrances, and I'm going to let you know what I think about this, because I don't know the notes. I haven't looked up anything, but there's woods here for sure. There's some spice. It does have a bit of a feminine touch to it, but I feel like it could totally be worn by a man. I do remember that they mentioned there's the note of chestnut in here, which is kind of cool, but it's very fresh. There's definitely something earthy, woody in here as well. So that is the Perfume. Let's go ahead and smell the Poeme. They're just basically called Brunello Cucinelli, and then Poeme and Perfume. This is the Poeme. As you can see, the bottles are really nice looking, very classy looking bottles, and the men's bottle has the ribs on it for sure. Rims on it. So let's see how this one smells. Remember this one being very fresh. Very fresh for sure. There's a major component of citruses here, but I remember them mentioning it has cypress as a note as well. I think these are definitely very classy. I don't know who the perfumers are, but they smell fantastic. It was an instant buy. It was basically walking by the store and seeing the big display of the fragrances, and I decided to go in and sniff them because I didn't see them anywhere else. So I think these will eventually come to the States. Anyway, Brunello Cucinelli, Poeme and Perfume. Let me know if any of you have gotten your noses on this particular collection of fragrances yet. I'd like to find out. So jumping around, as I said, going to France. In Paris, I went to the Van Cleef & Arpels boutique, right in the Place Vendôme, there's actually the Van Cleef & Arpels boutique there, which they're jewelry, but now they have a standalone perfume shop as well, which is kind of cool. If you're there, go there. They have their 3 classic fragrances in bottles like the Collection Extraordinaire. So one of the fragrances that I really love from Van Cleef & Arpels is Poeme, as you can see right here. Poeme used to be in a black bottle. Now it's moved into the Collection Extraordinaire, and you can only buy it at this boutique. From what I was told, that's the only place you can buy these fragrances, and so you'd have to go to Paris. But if you go to Paris, I highly recommend you go there and sample it. The store is really nice. I actually posted about the store on my Instagram. You should definitely go check it out. You can see the store, it's beautiful. But here is Pour Homme. Now, Pour Homme is a very masculine fragrance that was launched in the late 70s. It's got a lot of aromatics and woods and pine, and of course there's rose as well. So a friend from San Francisco had taken a trip to Paris, and he went to the store, and that's how I found out that these are still being made. And yeah, it's kind of, you know, classic smelling for sure. Those of you that are kind of younger will think these are pretty old smelling. But this is one of my favorite fragrances, the Van Cleef & Arpels Pour Homme, and really glad to have a current version of it. And as I said, you can get yourself a bottle if you go there. But there's also ZAR. ZAR I wore in the early 90s. ZAR is, so these are two men's classics that are in the Collection Extraordinaire bottles that are exclusively sold at the Van Cleef & Arpels boutique in Paris. And there's a female one that's coming up as well I'm going to tell you about. ZAR is another kind of, it used to be in a green bottle. Now it comes in this Collection Extraordinaire bottle. And ZAR was definitely different than Pour Homme. And I've forgotten, since I haven't worn it since the early 90s, but I was gifted the bottle by a relative, and I wore that thing to death back in the early 90s. But I kind of got bored of it. Let's see how it is now. Yeah, this is definitely going back to the days of wearing ZAR. ZAR, yeah, definitely smells like it. It has that very late 80s, early 90s kind of aromatic fougere-like smell. Classy for sure, very classy, but once again it might seem a bit mature for younger noses, but if you're into classic fragrances, definitely check that out. And then finally, Van Cleef. So Van Cleef is a feminine fragrance, but man, what they've done to it now smells pretty unisex to me. Check it out if you guys know this particular fragrance. But this is going to be great for me to have here on hand. Not only Van Cleef, but also the other two fragrances, Pour Homme and the ZAR. Because I have, you know, the clients coming in, consultations, sniff sessions, and showing these classic fragrances. Some of them do want to smell classic fragrances. So here is Van Cleef right here. It comes in the clear bottle, whereas the male fragrances came in the dark bottles. So let's smell Van Cleef real quickly. If I remember, this one really stood out when I was at the store. Right now I'm smelling it. It does smell a bit more feminine from when I smelled it over there. But I think what happened was when I was there, I was smelling a lot of things. So, you know, your sense of smell might be a bit off. But this is definitely very floral and very ambery. So definitely really great scent, I think. You're definitely leaning on the feminine side, but if you like the idea of an amber floral, Van Cleef is definitely great. And I believe Van Cleef originally came out in the 90s. I can't remember exactly, but I believe that's when that fragrance came out. So if you're into that market to get these classic Van Cleef & Arpels fragrances, which we originally thought were discontinued, if you have a friend going to Paris, definitely have them stop by and get a bottle. It's right in the Place Vendôme, right across from the Ritz, the famous Ritz Hotel, and it's Van Cleef & Arpels jewelry shop, and right next to it is the actual perfume boutique. It's a gorgeous store. I highly recommend, if you are going yourself, definitely check it out. Tell them Sebastian sent you, because they all know me now. And I bought these there, and of course I did a post, a reel about the store on Instagram. So let's move on. So while in Paris, you'll see a lot of FRAGONARD stores, and FRAGONARD is one of those perfumeries that's based out of Grasse. But if you're in Paris, you'll also experience the fact that they have this museum you can go through. It's kind of a gimmick. It's a museum. You'll learn a lot about perfume making and things like that, but then it opens up to a perfume store, and they're they don't really force you to buy any perfume, but you kind of end up in this beautiful shop of all kinds of fragrances and things. And the fragrances of Fragonard are not that expensive either. So this one is one that I've been wanting for a while. This is Cologne Grand Luxe, this one right here. So basically this is a 200 ml bottle, and it was only like 40 euros. And I wanted a bottle of it because it's such a fresh and invigorating fragrance, and it's a kind of like an after shower, refreshing. It's mostly citruses, and perhaps there's some aromatics and woods thrown in as well. But let me go ahead and smell that on camera and let you guys know what I'm smelling here. This is a really wonderful fragrance. Again, it's very citrusy. It's very citric for sure, but I am picking up woods and some green woods at the same time. Like there might be like something like cypress and pine in there thrown in, maybe a little bit moss. There's definitely some flowers in there for sure, citrus flowers I believe, maybe some like jasmine in there as well. But it's beautiful. This is a great scent. It's very inexpensive. 200 ml for about 40 some euros. You can liberally spray that stuff on in the summertime, and it'll just totally refresh you and make you feel wonderful. So glad to have this one. It's a collection of fragrances I don't have a lot of. Actually, this is my first Fragonard in a long time. The first time I went to Fragonard back in the early 2010s, I bought a bunch of stuff, but I've gone through them. So now I'm going to circle back to do some more Fragonard. But yeah, if you're in Paris, go to the Fragonard boutique. And of course, it's a museum. You can go through the museum and see a lot of history about fragrances. And then of course, you'll have a chance at buying fragrances there as well. So I'm not going to open this one, but I did mention this in a previous video. This fragrance, along with the Dior Homme Parfum, are very hard to get. This is BABYCAT. I ended up buying a second bottle of it, but when I was in Paris, I couldn't find any bottles anywhere. I went to 3 different stores. No one had a bottle. Finally, by the time I was in Milan at the end of my trip, at the La Rinascente department store there, they had some, so I ended up buying it. At the time, when I asked, they had about 14 more bottles, but you can go catch that video, find out what the deal with this fragrance is. It's very, very popular. That's why they keep running out of it, but it's not discontinued. There's some rumors out there that it is discontinued. It's not. Some of the associates have mentioned that this fragrance will not get discontinued because of how popular it is. But I'm glad to have a second bottle just to store away, just in case on a rainy day or something happens, I'll have it. Are you a fan of BABYCAT? Do let me know if you have a bottle. Are you looking for a bottle? Perhaps on my next trip, if I end up buying a couple of bottles of BABYCAT, I'll bring those instead of the Dior Homme Parfum. But it's actually really complicated to bring this much fragrance. It's a lot of weight, so I have to pay so many extra money. Like they charge you like $200 extra because your suitcase is really heavy. And you know, perfume, this is not all the perfume I brought back. I brought back perfume from brands as well. These are the ones I've paid for, so that's why I'm doing a haul video with only the paid fragrances. And again, I brought back so much perfume that it totally ended up paying about 600 euros because I turned in dollars. I think it was dollars. It could be euros. But I turned in 3 suitcases, full to the max, weight all over the place, and now I have all this fragrance. But anyway, if you're looking for a bottle of BABYCAT, last I checked in Milan, they had a bunch. So maybe you can try if you have a friend going there. So I'm going to talk to you about this fragrance as well. This is one fragrance that a lot of you have been asking me. This is YSL's La Nuit de la Homme BLEU Electrique. So it's all over France, but when I was in the UK, December, January, I couldn't find it anywhere, and those people there, the stores said, this fragrance never got an official release in the UK. But during my travel back from Heathrow, it was apparently there, but they had run out of it, including the BABYCAT was there too, and they had run out of it. So thankfully, I ended up buying a bottle at one of the stores. I think it was the Marionade store there, and ended up buying a bottle of the BLEU Electrique. So let's go ahead and smell it again. I enjoyed what I smelled, and I actually find the original of this fragrance to be one of the better designer fragrances. It's very light though. in all honesty, it's a very light fragrance, but I think La Nuit de la Homme is probably one of the best current designer fragrances from YSL for men. I like the cardamom vibe of that fragrance. But let's smell BLEU Electrique. Let me know if you're a fan of this one. Those of you that are niche folks, do you like these kind of fragrances? So to me, it smells really fantastic. It definitely has a little more oomph than the original, even though both of them are eau de toilettes. This one also has a bit of a syrupy amberiness about it, whereas the other one doesn't have that. And I like the name BLEU Electrique, and I think this is a pretty solid release. I like it. I do enjoy the DNA, and I think it's Dominic Ropion who did this one. So he also did BABYCAT, so he gets around with YSL, I guess. But let me know if you have a bottle. Let me know if you're a fan of BLEU Electrique. I'd like to find out. So let's move on to this. This is Frozen Pure Forest from ZARA. So this is another fragrance. I did a video on ZARA, top 10 ZARA fragrances, and there's another fragrance from this collection, which I'm drawing a blank on. Now I've got the Frozen Pure Forest. I kind of decide not to buy a lot of ZARA fragrances on my trip, even though I have better luck with finding good fragrances in Europe versus here in the States. For some reason, our stores are kind of like always here in San Francisco out of fragrances. But this is kind of a very frosted kind of pine woods fragrance. Let's go ahead and smell it really quickly. I can't remember who the perfumer is, but I believe they had advertised the perfumers of these fragrances. Yeah, it smells kind of pine. It smells like a pine forest basically, but frozen in. So basically like frosted, and obviously we've got the frosted bottle here, so it makes sense that they are going in that direction. It's a nice fragrance, pleasant fragrance, and I don't know how long these fragrances will be around, so it's nice if you run across any of these ZARA fragrances, snatch it up, because they're never going to be around too long. Although they've kept some fragrances around, but I believe they were clearing these out the last time I checked. So this is Frozen Pure Forest from ZARA. Let me know if you have a bottle of that one. So I actually dropped my bottle of Pour un homme de Caron from Caron like a month or two before I left to France and Italy. So I was looking at the discounters and I noticed that the discounters didn't have much stock anymore. But also the brand has gone through a new parent company. I believe some wealthy, I forgot their name, man. Some wealthy family's daughter bought the brand. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. I'm having drawing a blank, but I needed to buy another bottle because I love the fragrance. My dad wore this back in the 70s, and it means a lot to me. I bought a gift set that was kind of discounted, and this is what was in there, this and this. But I noticed the juice color looks a little more weird, because it used to be greener. Now the color of the juice is actually kind of blue-green. So I bought those, but I thought, you know what? I want to buy a large bottle of it as well, just to have on hand. But I have this feeling, I haven't opened this one yet, I have this feeling this is an older formulation, whereas this one that came in the gift set is a more current formulation. Let's open it up and see. Let me know if you're a fan of Caron, Pour un homme de Caron. This is a 200 ml bottle. Yes, I was right. Look at this. Why the color change? What the frickin' heck happened to this? So the color's so different. So this bottle here is an older bottle. This bottle here is a new bottle. And the colors look so different. It's been reformulated most likely. This one I will have to set it aside. That other one is the one that I'll be using around. But yeah, I mean, something's wrong with the formulation. And then it came with this mini as well. So let's go ahead and smell it out of the mini. I wore it, as you can see, it's been, used up. But it didn't really smell much different from what I remember. So I don't get the color change. There's a little difference, and I can't figure out what it is. It's not as smooth. The lavender seems a little sharper. That's what I'm noticing here. Maybe it needs to kind of like macerate or blend in. but definitely the color change is so different. But it's the same smell, just the lavender seems a little more sharper. It's a little more spiky, so it kind of hits your nose, you know, like you're smelling it and there's like a spiky point to the lavender and it's kind of hitting your nose. So I'm getting that kind of a reaction. As smell wise, I think it's fairly close. So it most likely it's gotten reformulated. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so another thing that I bought over there, and I've never seen in stores here in the States, and also I'm not seeing it at discounters either. And I had read that Mugler made Amen, Angel Men, Amen, an online exclusive for the Mugler website. So I had to buy a bottle. I stumbled onto a discounter store, but I think it was a discounted store for tourists because they give you like this discount if you're like visiting and you want to buy beauty products and things like that. So Amen, most of you guys know about it. It's Mugler's Amen, the men's version of Angel, but they don't smell alike, but they're somewhat kind of connected because they're kind of like gourmandish. So I'm not going to smell this one. It's a bummer that, you know, L'Oreal has decided to make this an online exclusive, and they're not doing anything with the men's fragrances. I don't know what the heck they're going to do with men's fragrances, but sadly they're not doing anything with it. So it's a bummer, and I wanted to have a backup because you never know. Maybe it's going to get discontinued because L'Oreal is known for that kind of shit. And they pull that kind of stunt, and so I needed to have another bottle, and just in case that it's now going to be discontinued. So if you guys have any word on this stuff, let me know. This is my experience with all these fragrances and things that I'm seeing, and I know Mugler had written, because I'm on the Mugler's subscription, I get their emails, and I got an email one time, it said, now an online exclusive for Amen, so I was bummed about that. But let's move on to Ex Nihilo. So Ex Nihilo, this is Vesper GLITZ. No, it's a very vanillic fragrance, but something different about this vanilla, kind of on the fresh side. And I think I'm going to do a little more fragrances from this house and maybe do a video on the house. One thing I do have a negative to say about this house is their prices are more expensive than other houses. That's the bummer thing. So, but this one I did fall in love with, so I had to have a bottle. You know, it's a great fragrance, and I think the house is great as well. Just I feel like the fragrances are somewhat overpriced. Thoughts on this one, guys? Let me know. And if you've smelled Vesper GLITZ, let me know what your thoughts are. I do have to be honest, it does kind of smell a bit mass compared to their other fragrances, but I really like the way it smells. It does also lean feminine, but it's delicious. It smells like a yummy, fruity, floral dessert, if that makes sense. So anyway, had to have Vesper GLITZ. I don't know, there's something in there that kind of also reminds me of something I've smelled before. Maybe a little bit of their other fragrance, Fleur Narcotique. I don't know, is that what it's reminding me of? I can't think straight if that's what it's reminding me of, but whatever it is, it's quite delicious. So if you haven't smelled that one, go smell it and let me know about it. So there is one thing I do have to say I didn't buy. It was gifted to me during my meet and greet that I did in Paris at the Javoy store. One of my followers brought this to me, and I was shocked and really grateful that he brought this. This is Rammstein's, one of Rammstein's latest fragrances called Sex. So it comes with two different bottles. There's this right here, and then there's this. And from what I've heard, and I've smelled these already, this one is the more animalic. This is not as animalic. So let's go ahead and smell these two. Any fans of Rammstein's fragrances? I can't believe we have a hard time getting these fragrances here. So this smells musky, but I don't remember the notes here. But definitely like musk. For sure there's musk. And this one also has aromatics I'm picking up. Woods, maybe a bit of amber, and there's a light animalics thrown in here as well. It doesn't come off as animalic as this one does, because I've worn that one already too. It's pretty animalic. So Sex Elixir is different than Sex. I think you can apply the two together, like layer them, and depending on how much animalic you want. This one I would use light light sprays of. Maybe one spray and do a little more of that one. Let me just do that right there. Definitely much muskier. I feel like there's also the presence of like synthetic civet or something, maybe some castoreum, some ambergris. It's pretty strong. If you like animalic fragrances, you're gonna like that one. But I think the two combined together is a great idea, with limiting the amount of the elixir and doing a little more of the other to have a bit of a musky, kind of a funky, you know, animalic fragrance where it's not like really intense with the animalics. But I'm glad to have this. Thanks so much to the person that brought this to me and gifted it to me. I appreciate it, because I have a hard time getting those fragrances, and it was very, very kind of you to do that. I really, really appreciate it. So fast forward to Italy. I went to a store called Perfumix. I actually posted from that store as well, and there they sold the brand 1969. So, and then the fragrance I really wanted to buy from that house is one that they've renamed, and thankfully I found the original fragrance, Christopher Street. Anybody know this one? So I believe this brand went through a lot of legal issues, because there's already a fragrance called Christopher Street from a brand called Charenton Macerations, who's actually based out of New York City. So I've known about that fragrance. I reviewed it on the older channel. It's a great kind of a leathery, aromatic, a bit old school take on kind of a spicy fragrance. This is totally different, but it's the same name, and I think it causes confusion, and that's why this fragrance is now named Christopher rather than Christopher Street. So I'm not going to open this one up. This is a collector's item, but I'll report on it later after I buy this fragrance in the version called Christopher. But if you guys know about this drama, let me know. It's going to be a collector's item. It's no longer called Christopher Street. It's Christopher now, and I have a bottle. Yes, I bought that one from Perfumix in Italy. So the things I run into. But this fragrance I've wanted a bottle of for the longest time, and this is, I discovered in 2019. That's when I discovered this brand. This is a brand called ELECTRIQUE. So Sonia Constant is the perfumer, and this one to me is a great minty fragrance. It's interesting though, when I did my meet and greet at Javoy, I actually found a lot of minty fragrances that I really enjoyed, and this is one of them. But this one's so bright and fresh and luscious and juicy and very aromatic and green, and it makes me want to discover this brand further, because this smells super fantastic. If you guys don't know this, you've got to get your nose on it, especially if you like mint or minty fragrances. And look at the color of the juice. It's amazing. Really lovely green color there. Mint is tough with some people, and I don't like mint if it smells like toothpaste, but I really, really like this one because it smells authentic, the real stuff. It also has a bit of booziness and some fruitiness in there as well. Man, this is so, so delicious. It's really, really delicious. It's green, it's weedy, kind of like earthy, woody, weedy, like weeds and overgrowth, but there's something syrupy, fruity in the background. Smells fantastic. Really, really love it. I guess it might remind you a little bit of what's the one from Italy with orange, but they're not the same. I think the mint, it's you or someone like you. It might remind you of that maybe a little bit, but they're totally different fragrances. This one has the fruitiness and that one doesn't. So a cheapie that I wanted to let you guys know about, I bought at a small grocery store in Italy next to the hotel I was staying at. This is a brand I've spoken about on the channel, and their fragrances are sold at Amazon for around 30-35 bucks. This is Muschio Bianco from a brand called Tesori de Orient. And guess how much I paid for this in Italy? 7.99 euros. And it's a great drugstore smelling fragrance, and it's very clean and it's musky. It's like, if you like the idea of a clean fragrance, this is definitely, it's basically white musk is what it translates to, but it's super clean, it's great, it's fresh, a bit soapy, but like refreshing to wear. And if you don't like a lot of, you know, like complicated notes and things like that, and you want cleanness, definitely try this one. And again, if you go to Italy, find these at drugstores, then they're really inexpensive. But on Amazon, they're like 30, 35, maybe 25 to 35, 40 $. So you're paying less over there, obviously, but then you also have to pay for a flight to get there. But anyway, this is really, really great to have from this house, because as I said, I paid around 30 bucks for a few other fragrances from that house. And the last 4 fragrances I'm going to talk to you about are from the house of Serge Lutens. So we have ECRIN de FUME. I bought it, instantly loved how this smelled, and it's been a while since I was really excited about a fragrance from Serge Lutens. This one I smelled and I bought it from the Galerie Lafayette instantly. I like this one because it's smoky and woody, a bit gourmand. The thing I'd have to do is now put the sprayer on this thing, because they come in the box without that. But if you like smoky fragrances and a bit gourmand, I think this one has cacao or chocolate from what I remember. I'll tell you a little bit here once I spray this. Yeah, it's basically almost like burned chocolate. But the smokiness goes away and it becomes more chocolatey and gourmand, and definitely has an ambery, woody base as well. So it's really, really fantastic fragrance. Really love it. I do like Serge Lutens, and the fragrances are definitely some of the most unique smells, but I wouldn't look for Serge Lutens as a brand that has like beast mode fragrances, and a lot of French houses are not like that. But as far as smells go, this is fantastic. So definitely a winner here from the brand. But sad that they don't distribute their fragrances here in the States anymore, but you can order directly off their website. So the place I bought that Amen bottle, I gotta put my glasses on for these next fragrances, but let's see here. Okay, so I bought from the Serge Lutens boutique, I bought a bottle of Arabi. Now, I used to have Arabi in a spray bottle. They've moved them over to the bell jars. And Arabi is very apricot fruity and ambery with some spices in there. It reminded me of these kind of like fruit roll-ups with, you know, apricots. I'm not going to smell this one because it's definitely kind of closed up, but here it is, Arabi. Yeah, it's definitely sealed, but definitely it's still around. I thought it was discontinued, but it is still around. And then these 2 fragrances I bought at a discount. Did I buy these at a discount? I did, yeah. So I bought a bottle of Musc Kubla Khan and Fumerie Turk, along with Amen at that discounted shop. And this shop was discounting these fragrances for some reason, and instantly bought Musc Kubla Khan, because Musc Kubla Khan is definitely a really wonderful musky animalic musk fragrance, and Fumerie Turk is used to be in the bell jar. See, that's the thing, I'm kind of getting bugged by Serge Lutens. It's like they're moving the fragrances around so much. It's so damn confusing. Like, why was it in a bell jar? It's no longer. Why was it in the regular bottles and now it's moved into these black bottles? It doesn't make sense to me, but they must have a reason that I can't really answer. Anyway, that's how the bottle looks. Let's smell it. Hopefully this is Fumerie Turk and not Musc Kubla Khan, because I've spoken about Musc Kubla Khan many times on the channel. This is definitely Fumerie Turk. Now, Fumerie Turk to me is such a delicious fragrance. There's definitely a musky undertone under the fragrance, but it's all tobacco. This is so good. This is amazing. This stuff is so good. It's amazing. The other thing is, I was looking for bottles of FEMME. All stores were completely sold out, and I wanted to find it here at the discounted price. They didn't have it. But Fumerie Turk, man, that is so good. So good. There's actually a bit of chocolatey undertone there as well. man, if you don't know Fumerie Turk, it is, again, one of the best smelling tobacco fragrances. I used to have it in a bell jar. I never bought it again, but now I'm glad to have it here with this collection. It's fantastic smell. One of the best tobacco fragrances, I think. Anyway, did I do some damage? That's all the fragrances I have for you here today. Let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Are you a fan of these fragrances? Have you been wanting to get your nose on these fragrances? Let me know, put a comment down below so I can find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.